Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another goal check-in video. I bring you along every month and talk about my personal goals. Here on my channel, I'm on a mission to help you achieve your goals, and one of the ways that I think is beneficial is for you to see a real person doing their own goals and sharing with you the ups and the downs, what works and what doesn't work, and everything in between. Now, last month, I kind of switched things up a little bit and did it a little bit differently and cut March into two. I have always, not always, that's not true. I have been setting quarterly goals for a long time where I pick focuses, milestones, things I want to prioritize for any given quarter. And for the last number of years, I have been doing that on like the quarters that go with the years, Q1, Q2, just like a regular calendar. And last year that just didn't feel right. And I stuck with it until the end of the year when I did No Goals December and knew that this year was going to be different. And there was going to be a point where I switched things up to make the quarters just line up better with my life. Also, I am filming in the living room. I know the background is incredibly boring and I just have not figured out a good place to record here in our new house, especially when Lila is asleep. My office is our bedroom and it's not that far from her bedroom. And I feel like when I record, I'm very loud, but I'm hearing myself and I have a feeling this video is gonna be a smidge echoey, so I apologize. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't know, the best background would be down in the basement where the shelves are, where we have these, but the shelves are too high up and the lighting down there sucks. So I don't know. We gotta figure something else out someday, but today was not that day. We were not gonna figure it out. Okay, I'm gonna stop procrastinating and just get into my goals. I'm gonna start by sharing the second half of March and how that went and how those action steps went, and then I will share with you what I have planned for April. All of these goals are related to my Q2 personal goals. So if you did not watch that video that I uploaded about what my Q2 personal goals are, I would maybe watch that one first because it might make more sense when I talk about these action steps and what goals they associate with. And then I'm going to do an entire separate video on my business goals. This video is just gonna be for personal. Because my personal goals are going to be lined up a little bit differently on the quarters, my business goals I'm keeping the same. I'm keeping those quarters the same. It's just what works in my head and what works for my life. And so since they're on different timelines, I think it just makes sense that they have different videos. So let's get into it, talking about the second half of March. So the first one-time step was to get the piano set up. I did that. The piano has its new home in the basement. It's all set up and I'm very glad that I prioritized that. And you'll see why when we get down to the daily steps. The next one-time step was to create my spring playlist. And I started this, that's why there's a check mark where it says progress, because I did start it. And I think I added like 4 songs. And then I struggled and I just didn't really know what I wanted to listen to. And I think what I realized in that process, I was really trying to force it. The new year, it felt easier to make a playlist that kind of like vibed around the new year, fresh start, etc. The spring, just nothing was jumping out at me. I'm not typically like a current music kind of person. I typically listen to stuff that's like nostalgic to me, stuff that I've loved for years. And so I think it just doesn't make sense for me to make a seasonal playlist. I like that idea. I got that from my sister's roommate, but it didn't vibe. It didn't fit for me, and that's okay, y'all. Sometimes there's gonna be action steps that work for somebody else that don't work for you. And I have really trying to lean into this. You've probably heard me talk about it. I talked about it on a community coaching call. I talked about it on the last live chat, but I'm really trying to lean in to both just doing what works for me and knowing that I have to try it in order to figure it out, but then changing my mind on a random day. Like, I don't need to wait for a new month, a new day, a new week, a new whatever in order to start things. And so, you know what? I had a playlist for the first quarter of the year. It worked. This one, it's not working, and I just don't think it's for me. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll try again in the summer, because summer I feel like kind of has its own vibe, right? Summer vibes. So maybe I will make a playlist for the summer, but for now, I'm not worrying about this and I'm not carrying it over. It just didn't get done for Q2. The next one-time step from the second half of March was to figure out what pelvic floor exercises I was going to do. And I appreciate some of you actually sent me some resources, either in the comments or via Instagram DMs. This is a little bit of an exception, but I'm gonna plug right here and remind you always, if you are looking for a free and simple way to support your favorite creators, thumbs up the video that you're watching. I'm trying to be better about that too on YouTube videos that I watch. And if you have a comment or something you wanna share, and it's not like super personal, put it on the video. I mean, I love chatting with you in my DMs. I love hanging out there. But sometimes when I get DMs about stuff that absolutely could have been a comment, I'm like, just comment that. It helps. It helps. So just that reminder. Now, I totally respect some of you that sent me pelvic floor recommendations that you were like, I wasn't sure if you wanted this in the comments. Like, that one is a little bit of an exception, but just reminded me to share that. That said, I started to do a little bit of research. I tried to make a plan, and I decided this is one of those scenarios where I need an expert. I was trying to avoid going in person to see a pelvic floor therapist, not because I didn't like it when I did it before. Well, let me take that back. I didn't love the person I was seeing, and at the time, that was the only one that I found that was within walking distance, like even a decently close walking distance to our apartment. So I was like, let me look again. Let me see if I can find a different one that is either close to us, or what I ended up finding, fun fact, I didn't find a different one that was close to us, close to daycare. There was one that was close to daycare. So I made an appointment for 9 a.m. on Tuesday, April 1st. You're watching this video the week after that. But I'm filming this video, by the way, Saturday, March 29th. I feel like I usually say that at the beginning, so you have kind of a reference as I'm talking about these. So I have an appointment, and whether I'm going to just go to this one appointment and then ask them to give me exercises to do at home, or whether I keep going consistently, kind of depends on like what time I get home, how I'm feeling about it interrupting my workday like that, and how much it is like with insurance, because every place was different. I don't remember what the last place was, truthfully, but I decided it's time to go. So I have an appointment. That's why I didn't finish this one. I did make progress, and then ultimately was like, I'm just gonna make an appointment. All right, moving on to the weekly steps. So the first one was to work on the basement organization, and I did that both weeks, and I have made a lot of progress. I did it more than once, both weeks, and the basement is in really, really good shape. Like, I actually did more than I thought I was gonna get done in these 2 weeks. I had the basement organization as like an entire quarterly goal. Like, I thought I was gonna need all of April and May too, and I'm really happy with the progress I made in March. It's not done, but I made a lot of progress. The next weekly step was to work out 3 times. And the first week, this will apply to both weekly steps. The first week I was sick. We got home from our vacation on Monday, and I came home very, very sick. And so I did not work out at all that week, let alone, you'll see that in the daily section, but let alone 3 workouts, like that didn't happen. And then I did not get 7 vegetables in. I may have ate like a couple of vegetables in my chicken noodle soup, but very little vegetables were had that week too. But this past week, March 24th, not only have I worked out 3 times, I had 3 great workouts. I went in person. I'm doing a ClassPass trial right now. And then I am making pretty good progress on my vegetables. We'll see if I actually end up hitting it for the week, but I am making progress on it. Moving on to the daily steps, the first one was to actually play the piano. And I feel good about the number of days that I've done this. All those first dots, like the first 5 that I didn't do it, the piano wasn't even set up yet. So I knew I wanted to make this a daily step, but I also didn't have it in my schedule to set up the piano until that weekend. So there was no way I was gonna do it that Monday through Friday. And I was, like I said, I was sick. But regardless, I set the piano up on that Saturday. And then since then, I've missed 2 days. So that feels pretty good. The next one was to get a workout in. I already kind of explained this. I have it in both sections though, because I like being able to see my progress. Now, this particular month is not a good example of this, because this one, like, I didn't do any, so I didn't get any extra benefit by having in my daily section on that first week, and then I did exactly 3 the next week, and that was my weekly goal. So this is a bad example, but most of the time, I like having it in both spots. And then the last one was a vegetable. I guess I did get a couple vegetables in that week that I was sick, more towards the end of the week. And then, like I said, this week I did have 1 day that I didn't have any, but I've had a couple days where I've had 2 vegetables in a day. I know some of you are like still rolling your eyes at me, like, I can't believe you're not eating vegetables. And some of you are like, I feel you. How do we get our vegetables in? So I think I only need 1 more today or tomorrow to get my weekly check mark. So that feels good. So all in all, pretty good progress. If I hadn't gotten sick, I feel like my progress would have been a little bit more, but that is life, y'all. That is what happens with goals and with life. We set these goals, we pick these action steps, and then you get sick, or your child gets sick, or your spouse gets sick, or you have to, travel for work unexpectedly, or whatever it is, life happens. And so if I hadn't had this plan though, it wouldn't have been as motivating for me to get back onto my goals after being sick. So I'm glad I have this plan. I feel good about, I was gonna say the little progress I made in March, but for some of my goals, I actually made pretty decent progress, and more importantly, really good momentum that is going to carry me in to April. So let's talk about my April goals. So there is definitely a heavy theme on like which colors and which goals go with which types of action steps, and that happens, right? Some action or some goals lean themselves more to one-time action steps, some weekly, some daily. By the way, if you have 2 plugs really quick, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say one-time steps, weekly steps, daily steps, I did a whole series on that in February. So I will link those videos down below, and I give like definitions of each of those and examples for each of those. Second plug real quick is this is my planner that you're seeing in this video and all my goals videos. If you're interested, the Q2 version is available. It's not too late to set Q2 goals. It's not too late to set April goals. Check out the Q2 version if you are interested in trying out the Goals with Laken planner. Okay, let's talk about my one-time steps. So a lot of the one-time steps are related to the house goals. So the first one is to meet with the contractor about the basement. So I thought I was just gonna be focusing on organizing the basement, but now that it is a little bit more organized, I think we're ready to start the project. Not quite ready to start the project, start the conversations about the project to finish off the one piece of our basement that isn't finished. I did a whole video in December about all of the house projects that we're planning to do, and one of them is there's an unfinished piece of our basement that we're going to finish off, turn into an office for my husband, and also like add some storage, and then we're gonna move the laundry. That's kind of just like it has to happen in order for the office to get built, because the laundry is like in the middle of the space. Not like in the middle of the room, but like in the middle of a wall, and it needs to get moved to a different wall. So I was emailing with our contractor the other day, and we're gonna set up a time for them to come over and look and start that conversation. So I just want to, we haven't set a time. So this one-time step is not only setting the time, but then keeping the time and following through on that meeting. The other one-time step related to the basement is some toy organization. So since when we were packing to move, I had this ambition, that we were gonna be a family that started to rotate toys. And I didn't wanna overcomplicate it. I follow some moms on Instagram that do like a weekly toy rotation, and she picks like 6 very specific curated things for her daughter. And if that is you, like, love that, awesome, you do you. That is not what I'm envisioning. What I'm envisioning is taking her toys and cutting them down the middle, right? She's got 2 similar puzzles, right? One in this pile, one in this pile. She's got 2 similar of this, one in this pile, one in this pile. And then putting one in this big giant bin and the other out, and then swapping them whenever I have time to swap them. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's every other week, maybe it's once a month, I don't know. But regardless, that's the vision. So I'm hoping to do that step in April. Step 1 is I need to buy the bin, and then step 2 is I need to find time when I'm here at the house without her. I mean, I guess I could do it while she's asleep, but I feel like it's gonna be a big to do. So that is one of those action steps that definitely has more steps broken down somewhere else. All it says is toys on here, and that is a big encompassment. The next 2 one-time steps are related to the housewarming party. The first one is to pick a date, and the second one is to send invites. This is it's something we really wanna do, but it's also difficult. I was already looking at a calendar, and between my brother is getting married in June, and so between like the bridal shower, the Jewish holidays, her bachelorette party, that I'm going to, his bachelor party that Sam is going to, and like another wedding before that. I don't know if there's one weekend that we may have, but that might be, Sam may have a work thing he's got to travel for. So I don't know, but we could do it after the wedding. It just, at this point, it may not happen in Q1 or Q2 is what I'm saying. The other hesitation here is I have not shared the details yet, and I'm not planning to share them in this video. But Sam is going back and forth to Houston a lot for a family situation. And so it's also kind of hard to schedule things. Like, he originally wasn't gonna be gone this weekend, and now he is gone. And so it's sometimes hard to schedule stuff, and then he's not gonna be here. And it's just tough, and that's kind of frustrating. So we'll see. That's a conversation I need to sit down and have with him. And then the last one-time step is to actually go to that pelvic floor therapy appointment. Like I said, I have it scheduled. It is scheduled. Like, I can go ahead and check off scheduled. I just need to commit and show up. I'm hoping someone can relate to me that sometimes even just having it scheduled doesn't mean I actually end up showing up. So that is why it is on there. All right, moving on to the weekly steps. So the first one is related to playing the piano. You saw in my March recap that I did a pretty good job of doing it almost every day. I don't necessarily want to do it every single day, but I want to do it more than 50% of the time, let's say. but I would like to I wanted to up it a little bit in April. And so I'm setting a weekly time goal. So it's still gonna be in my daily section, spoiler alert, so that when I do it on any given day, I check it off for doing that day. But I'm also going to track how much time I spend when I do it. And then my goal is to hit 30 minutes by the end of the week. Now, my vision would be that, I feel like I've said vision a lot. I feel like, I guess what I feel like would feel the best is do it like 6 days, 5 minutes at a time, right? Sitting down and practicing a little bit each day. And there is a time, like Lila and I, depending on what time she wakes up, we always kind of have this little window of time where we're done eating breakfast, we are dressed and ready to go, but it's too early to leave for going to daycare, or my mom hasn't come to get Lila yet. We have this like little window, at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have that window. And so that is the perfect time for me to play the piano. Now, sometimes that means she is sitting on my lap and my practice is a little bit funky because she's also banging on various keys, but it is what it is. So in my head, it's like if I do that 5 minutes, 6 times a week, there's my 30 minutes. But you know what? Maybe it also looks like sitting down during her nap on a weekend and instead of filming a goals video and sitting there and doing 30 minutes on a weekend. So we'll see, but I'm setting a weekly number goal for this month. The next weekly step is the only step related to enjoying spring, and that is to get outside. I wanted to be more creative with this goal. Y'all, I wanted to come up with a more creative action step. I wanted to maybe research some specific things we could do to enjoy spring, but you know what? That's just not where we're at, right? Our lives are just a little bit too chaotic right now for that to be a scenario. So instead, I have a weekly step to just get outside and enjoy the nice weather that we are now having. The next weekly steps are all related to my physical health goals. So I really wanted to start this improvement is the word that I chose to use. Wait, what did I call it? What did I call my Q2 goal? I called it, make small improvements. So these are just some little specific things that I can do. So the first one is to have a smoothie. It's also a really great way to get in vegetables. I've decided, you'll notice, to take off the vegetable goal. Not because I'm not trying to eat vegetables, but I really don't know that having it on my goals list was encouraging me to eat them. Truthfully, I think I was just checking it off when I did it, when it naturally fit into what we were planning to eat or what I was planning to order, but I didn't feel like I was going out of my way to eat vegetables to get the check mark. And so if it's not motivating me that way, then I'm gonna take it off. So instead, I thought of a way that I know that I will get a vegetable in, and that is to put a smoothie. For now, my goal is to just do one. Maybe someday I'm gonna up it to try to do more, but for now, my goal is to do one smoothie per week in April. The next weekly step is to do at least one in-person workout class. I was doing a really good job of this. If you've been watching my vlogs, I've been talking about how I was doing some different trial periods at different studios and trying to find studios that I liked. And because I was doing trials with good deals, either free or discounted, I was able to do more per week. Realistically, going forward in the budget is not necessarily gonna be me doing multiple workout classes in person per week. They're just pricey. Additionally, one of the time slots that I was doing in-person classes was in the morning before Lila and sometimes even Sam woke up. But if Sam is not here, if he's down in Houston, I can't do that. Even if Lila's asleep, I'm not leaving to go work out. So the only really times that I can do it is when she is at daycare, which is not when I wanna be working out. I wanna be working in those hours, but I had a conversation with myself. You know what I mean? I thought about it and I was like, Laken, right now, you can't go in the mornings. So if you want to take some in-person classes, it's going to have to be during daycare hours. What you can do then is still get up at 5:30 and work in the morning before she wakes up. So that is the deal, is the days that I go take a workout class during the day, I need to get those work hours in before she wakes up. It's not that unrealistic for me, but it's just still a mental hurdle. So my goal in April is just do one per week in April. And then I also wanted to get specific about the workouts I was doing at home. And so I made a goal in April to do one Peloton ride. So instead of I'm very good at skipping cardio. I'm very good at just prioritizing weights and strength, and that's good. And it's good for me and I like it, but I really want to focus on getting my cardio in. So one Peloton ride per week in April. All right, and last but certainly not least, the daily steps are all pretty obvious and simple. The first one is to play the piano. Kind of already talked about that. The next one is the workout. You'll notice I did not set a weekly overall workout goal. I am just gonna check off in the daily section when I work out, and then I have those specific goals for one of those to be outside of the house and one of them to be a Peloton ride. And then my last daily step is my pelvic floor exercises. I'm going on that appointment on April 1st, so that I will probably not do March 31st, even though I'm gonna start my goals on Monday. And then, but as soon as I go to that appointment, I'm gonna ask for homework, and my goal will be to do it, I'm assuming, every day after that. I guess I should ask the expert, but I'm gonna track it in the daily section. So those are my one-time steps, or my one-time steps, all my action steps for April. Whew, I feel like I've been chatty. I feel like this was a chatty video given I didn't have that many action steps, but I wanna hear about your goals. Let me know one action step that you have picked for April that you're super excited about, and let's cheer each other on. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, comment below with the bike emoji, the little like cycler emoji to encourage me to get on my Peloton and actually use the Peloton and not just the strength classes on the screen. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Let me try again. Nope, Laken, that is not right. Let me say that again. Hopefully that last part wasn't awkward because I was like literally about to sneeze.